The most insane twist just took place in MHA, and I for one did not see this unbelievable sacrifice coming. The last chapter was met with a ton of controversy, but this chapter was way crazier than anything we saw last time. What just happened is about to have a massive impact on the entire war, including the fight between Deku and Shigaraki, so we need to talk about it right now. You guys know how this works. If you enjoy my MHA content, leave a quick like and comment right now for that YouTube algorithm. And we are trying to awaken the full potential of our quirk here on the channel by hitting 2 million subscribers. Help us out by subscribing right now and let's do it! Finally, this video will contain MHA manga spoilers, so please proceed with caution. You have been warned. In the previous chapter, the battle portion of the Toga vs Ochaco confrontation came to an end as Ochaco managed to convince Toga that she genuinely cares about her and that she appreciates Toga for who she is. Toga always felt like her true nature was rejected by society, right down to her natural and genuine smile being referred to as the smile of a deviant by her own parents. But Ochaco told Toga that she has a beautiful smile, that she is the cutest girl in the world, and that if she needs blood, Ochaco would be happy to give her some for the rest of her life. These words finally got through to Toga. She accepted Ochaco's compassion and friendship as genuine, and instead of attacking Ochaco, Toga hugged her. Soon after, Toga's supply of twice his blood ran out, and all the clones that she had been using for Sadman's parade vanished. The fight was over. However, as I mentioned in my last few videos, Ochaco suffered a severe stab wound from Toga back in chapter 392. And I've been saying repeatedly how weird it is that in the last few chapters, Ochaco's severe injury was barely mentioned. She just continued to engage in physical combat as usual while also using her quirk at the same time, and I was beginning to think that Horikoshi wasn't going to give the stab wound the narrative attention it clearly deserves. Thankfully, the latest chapter focuses greatly on Ochaco's injury, and it produces perhaps the most intriguing moment of self-sacrifice in the entire story. I personally didn't see this particular series of events coming. If you predicted this, let me know down in the comments, but let's break it all down right now. We start off with the aftermath of Sadman's parade, with all the clones dissolving and the heroes who were almost consumed by the clones just barely surviving the onslaught. A half-dead Endeavor seems to have been shielding his family from the clones with his own body, and thankfully he did manage to protect them all long enough for the clones to dissipate. Although I have to say he himself looks like absolute hell. This guy has been through some stuff, man, that's for sure. Ida was also almost taken out by the clones, but they begin to dissolve just as they are about to swarm him. Hawks was probably in the worst trouble of all. One of the clones, a clone that looks like a cross between Toga and Twice, was actually slashing him with a knife, and she was about to kill him at any moment. Hawks looks like he was either unable or unwilling to defend himself, and in fact he says to the Toga clone that Twice really was a good guy. But as with the other clones, this clone disappears before it can kill its target, and we see that as this clone disappears, it appears to be crying. Back at the place where Toga and Ochaco had clashed, we see that Ochaco is now lying on the ground, her injury finally taking its toll on her. Toga is standing above her and holding her knife, along with that gear she uses to quickly suck people's blood and store it. Toga says that the knife she is holding allowed her to become the people she loved, but she filled it with anger and hatred in order to create a world that she thought would be easier to live in. Toga seems to be experiencing regret judging by the expression on her face, but we don't get to focus on that for long because Toga begins to experience terrible pain. This pain is the price that Toga pays for transforming into other people and using their quirks, and it's definitely not a pleasant side effect. But Toga's attention right now isn't on her own suffering. It is on Ochaco, who is clearly dying from the stab wound that Toga gave her. Toga notes that Ochaco had used zero gravity to ensure that all the heroes had a safe landing. She didn't stop using her quirk until she knew that everyone was okay, even though she was in an incredible amount of pain as a result of her injury. Even though she lost so much blood, she refused to let anyone drop, no matter what. In this moment, Ochaco appears to be dying. She can't move, and she feels like her brain has become disconnected from her body. Ochaco's time is running out. She managed to talk Toga down and save everyone else from dying, but now she is about to die. Toga realizes this, and she remembers how Ochaco offered to give her blood for the rest of her life, if that meant that Toga would stop hurting others. She also remembers how Ochaco told her that she has a beautiful smile and that she is the cutest girl in the world. Toga realizes just how genuinely pure and kind Ochaco is, and it is in that moment that Toga makes a decision. She tells Ochaco that she lost too much blood because she kept moving even after Toga stabbed her. Toga also tells Ochaco that the League of Villains wants to destroy everything and create a new world, the kind of world that would be much better for someone like Toga to live in. That is why Toga loved the League so much. But now she knows that there are things in this world that are even more precious than that new world. Ochaco's words made Toga really happy, and she can't stand the thought of letting Ochaco die like this, even if that brought about a better world for people like Toga. And so Toga drinks some of Ochaco's blood, the blood that had already escaped her body, and she uses that blood to become Ochaco. In the past, when Toga had been on the brink of death, Twice had created a Toga clone and then used the clone's blood to save Toga by giving her a blood transfusion. The clone is biologically identical to the original, so the blood is perfectly compatible. However, Toga doesn't have any more of Twice's blood, so she can't just create a clone. She has to turn into Ochaco herself and then give her own blood to Ochaco in order to save her life. When Toga becomes someone she loves using her quirk, then her blood also becomes their blood, meaning the blood is perfectly compatible with the person whom she transformed into. Toga declares that she will save Ochaco by giving her all of her own blood, and she then uses that blood draining device of hers to transfuse her own blood into Ochaco. Ochaco tries to tell Toga not to do it, but Ochaco doesn't really have the power to resist. Toga closes up the stab wound, and then she begins transferring her own blood into Ochaco. She wonders if Ochaco had successfully captured Toga, whether she would have really given her blood for the rest of her life. Ochaco could have just captured her or even killed her for being a villain and a deviant, but Toga believes that Ochaco was genuinely concerned about her well-being, even though she is a villain. Even though Toga hurt and stabbed Ochaco's friends, and even though she stabbed Ochaco herself, Ochaco still genuinely cared about Toga and her well-being. As she lies down beside Ochaco while the blood transfusion proceeds, Toga says, "You're weird, Ochaco," with tears in her eyes. Ochaco responds by saying, "Right back at you," and she asks Toga why she is doing this. Why would she give up her own life for a hero? Toga proclaims that she will live her life the way that she wants to. She won't let anyone capture her, even if Ochaco would have kept her word. That's just not the way that she wants to live her life. She apologizes to Ochaco for stabbing her and for yelling at her. She says that even though she tried to put her past behind her, it was still haunting her. Her traumatic childhood was still there inside her heart. But Ochaco reaching out to Toga and being kind to her made Toga finally realize what was really missing from her life. Ochaco finally made Toga realize what it really means to be happy. For her entire life, Toga wanted to become all these different people, and she drank the blood from people she envied and loved the most. She thought that true love meant consuming someone's blood so that you can become one with them. But now, Toga understands that this was not true love. True love is not consuming someone's blood to become one with them. Instead, true love means loving someone so much that you want to give them your blood, not take theirs away. Toga says that if she had met someone she loved sooner, this world would have been a much easier place to live in. But even so, she is Himiko Toga, and she lived her life exactly how she wanted to. Toga hugs Ochaco, and her final thoughts are that she has the cutest smile and that she is a normal girl. And as Toga presumably dies so that Ochaco can live, this chapter comes to an end. Toga finally understood that truly caring for someone means giving them everything, not taking everything from them. And even though she made many terrible mistakes and did many terrible things, with this ultimate sacrifice, Toga will save Ochaco's life and atone for her sins. Wow, this was powerful. Despite the fact that this chapter wasn't about fighting and action, it was one of the most intense and emotional chapters in the entire series. With this, Toga's character arc is concluded in the best way possible. She managed to atone at least for some of the stuff that she's done in the past, and Ochaco gets to live after nearly giving her life in order to save everyone. Now, this is a shonen and fake out deaths have happened in MHA before. I recall Gran Torino and like Bakugo 2 times. But I will say that if Horikoshi decides to make Toga's death a fake out here, it will drastically hurt the story. I'm not saying that I want Toga to die per se, but this chapter just gave us a very powerful narrative and a truly emotional final sacrifice from Toga that partially redeems her and also makes her a multi-dimensional and multifaceted character in the end. If Horikoshi takes this back and makes it so that both Ochaco and Toga survive somehow, it would definitely cheapen this powerful moment. I hate to say it, Toga fans, but her sacrifice here might be the best thing for her character and for the story. What do you guys think? Did Toga really just sacrifice her life for Ochaco, or will they both manage to survive somehow when shonen logic kicks in? What did you think of this chapter overall? Personally, I thought it was great because it really completed Toga's character development in a meaningful way. I've always said that yes, society treated her unfairly because of her unique biological makeup, and there is no excuse for how her own parents condemned her and labeled her a deviant because of her quirk. But at the same time, what she was doing wasn't right either. You can't just decide to start consuming other people's blood because your biology makes you desire it. You might think it's a compliment because it means you love that person, but the person being attacked and drained of their blood certainly wouldn't see things that way. So it was never that simple with Toga. Yes, she was mistreated, but she also had a warped view of love and she was doing things that couldn't be excused no matter how you look at it. And that is why I loved this chapter, because Toga finally realized that love wasn't about consuming the blood of others to become them. Love is caring about someone so much that you would give up all of your own blood for them. Honestly, that was excellent. Did you guys like how Toga's character was developed in the end? Let me know down below. Finally, how will these crazy events affect Deku's fight with Shigaraki? How will Deku react when he learns that Ochaco almost died, but she was saved in the end because the villain Himiko Toga sacrificed her own life to save Ochaco? Will this maybe make Deku even more determined to try to save Shigaraki? Because hey, if Toga could atone for her villainous acts, maybe Shigaraki could too. Could that actually end up becoming Deku's greatest weakness going forward? Like, could Deku's determination to save Shigaraki lead him to pull punches and allow Shigaraki to come out on top? I definitely want to hear what you guys think in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more MHA content in the future, leave a quick like to let me know. And if you want to help us get to that insane 2 million subscribers mark, subscribe right now. It would help me out a lot. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.